What if work life balance isn't the answer and chasing it is actually making you more exhausted? Today, I'm joined by Carol Enneking, former corporate vice president turned leadership mentor and author of the Rebalancing Act. After decades inside high performance culture, Carol started noticing something most people they don't talk about. The more successful people looked on the outside, the heavier they felt on the inside. So today, we're talking about sustainable success, ambition without self sacrifice, and what to do when achievement stops feeling good. Carol, thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining me. I am so happy that you're
Yeah.
here.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. So, me and Carol were talking just a second ago, and I was like, we have to save it for the podcast because me and Carol might have a difference of opinion. And we need to dive into this
We
because I
do.
work in corporate and
Yes.
I always thought work life balance, that's what you strive for. That is the gold standard. Like, you want a good work life balance. What am I
Yes.
missing?
The problem with balance is that it's constantly going to change. So the minute everything is in balance, something will come at us. Life comes at us so fast all the time. And if you think about a visual of a balance scale, you can have 99 pounds of weight on one side and then 100 pounds of weight on the other side, and it's still going to look completely unbalanced. And then it gets perfectly balanced at 100 pounds. But the minute one side gets 101 pounds, the balance goes completely the other direction. And so I think rather than aiming for that, expecting to get there, expecting it to be something we can achieve, it's better to think about being agile and knowing how to take the best next step when things feel off track so that you are constantly readjusting so that the situation doesn't get the best of you.
So, how do you know when things are off track?
Well, there can be subtle signals. You can have things like your heart starts to race, maybe you're thinking about work in your sleep, maybe you're not sleeping well.
Oh, or you dream about it.
Where you're dreaming about
I
it?
dream
Yes,
about work a lot,
I have to not work late at night or I will dream about work. It's not very
right?
exciting. It's just
No,
like,
and it's
ugh.
not healthy.
It's all that stuff that you haven't finished processing, I guess. But it could be your sleep patterns. It could be just your energy level. It could be your mind just telling you something feels off track. Could be your racing heart rate. It's all those classic stress signals. Or you could be like me and wait for drastic things to happen and your body to just finally say, I'm done. I'm not going to let you work like this anymore. So I had some major health challenges because I was absolutely a workaholic for a long time. And it took its toll in large and small ways, but it just took me longer to realize something needed to change. I'm hoping I can inspire people to shorten that track when they know something's off to have the tools to know what to do to regain some clarity around the situation.
So it's the brick wall moment. I had a guest on who actually was driving a car with her husband and hit a brick wall before she made a life altering change. So I feel like
Wow.
your health problems, maybe that was your brick wall moment. And you said, maybe this work life balance isn't working and I have to rebalance. So
Yeah.
that's really clever.
I mean, it took more than one. I went through breast
Oh,
cancer in
oh,
COVID. It
wow.
was not fun, but I caught it early. And the one thing that the oncologist said is you really want to control your stress level to the extent you can. You don't want to be introducing a lot of really stressful activities into your life. And it's better for you to watch that because it takes its toll on the body. So, for about 6 months, I really did a good job of watching stress, but then I was back to it. I was overworking again, and then it was like, "Oh, now she has high blood pressure. Okay, now she
Oh,
has diabetes."
jeez.
And it was I finally told my boss after about 3 years of these things just sort of popping up, I said, "You know what? I think my body is starting to tell me it just won't work this way anymore." And it took those kind of huge, terminal, serious kind of factors to make me say, This isn't worth it." So,
Wow.
yeah. And I
So,
still struggle with it. I mean, I still have to make sure that I keep a very healthy balance. It's an active process trying to do that when you're tempted to take it all on and do it all.
yeah, no, we were joking, guys, that I'm a workaholic and I have a really hard time stopping. How do we change that? What steps can we take? Or is the onus on us or is the onus on corporate? Is the onus on HR? Where is the line?
I tend to be a big believer in personal responsibility. I mean, yes, there are certain things that would be great if our companies would own that. It would be great if HR could affect that culture in a positive way. And if you work for a company where that is prioritized, that's a fantastic thing. But really, we have to figure out how we're going to deal with the things that are thrown at us. And taking personal responsibility is key. And so one of the things that's really helped me I did in my 20s, and I think it was always there in the back of my mind guiding me, but I think it took revisiting it older, wiser, and more in need of some shifts in my life for me to realize how profound it was to go through this exercise. And the exercise was about uh, defining my uppermost values. So, what are the 5 most valuable things in my life? And I mean, everything's great, but what are 5 guiding values for me? And what are the lifetime goals I want to achieve? And this is just it's kind of like a dream list on paper where you start thinking, I want to travel. I want to have this type of role. I want to have kids. I want to have a family. I want to, all the things you want to do, but you quantify it. You write it down and you make a list because we know that our mind starts to find ways for us to start meeting those goals once we start writing things down. So, having an idea of what you value and what you want to do in your life helps you think about the way you need to live to be in alignment with that. Because I think what can happen when you get so busy and your rewards are driven by that corporate do everything mentality, I think it's so easy to just let time pass you by. And then all of a sudden
Sure.
it's like it isn't just weeks or months, it's years that have passed.
Yeah.
And so the other thing I added to that exercise now that I take people through it myself is I say, what do you want to be known for? What's your legacy?
Oh,
And it almost sounds morbid because I said on TV one day, I was on an interview and I said, when you leave this job or this phase of life, or when you leave this earth and it's your
mhm.
funeral, what do you want people to say about you? Because that's the legacy you leave. And I realized probably 10 or 15 years ago that if somebody would have been asked to describe me, they would have said, "Wow, she gets so much done. I don't know how she does it all. She's a go-getter. She's reliable. When I have a tough problem, I know she can solve it." And that's all wonderful. But they would have probably also said she's pretty stressed. She doesn't have a lot of fun. I wish she would take it easy sometimes or take it easy on herself and not push herself so hard. I was probably known as pretty stressed, and I'm a mom of now adult children, but I thought, "Man, is that the legacy I wanna leave? Is that what I want them to remember about me?" And it wasn't. And so I started backing up. I started thinking, "Okay, if I want to be known as a difference maker, if I want to be known as someone who was really present and really able to focus on the people that she cared about and help make the world around her a better place, how am I gonna back up from there and do the things that matter today?" And part of that is also knowing what you need to let go of that doesn't matter. Because I don't think you ever have it all or have fulfillment by trying to do it all.
Right,
And I
right.
think we get confused by that sometimes.
So I want to ask you about the differences between men and women
My
in
yes,
this, because I feel like we handle things a little differently.
we do.
And I think women, and maybe I'm biased, So call me out if I'm biased, but I feel like we don't stop. We don't stop when we're home. We keep going, especially if you do have children or if you're a caretaker. Like we feel the need to continually work. So it's like we have two jobs. How do
Or
we
200.
or 200. Yes. How do we do it specifically? How do women help rebalance themselves?
I think it's really funny that you brought that up because when I was writing my book, I interviewed over 70 women and some men. And I was asking them, what do you wish you knew at a younger age? What's the wisdom you've learned to help you get through these traps that tend to befall us? And someone I was interviewing, it was a woman, she said, "Have you seen that comedy skit?" And I won't do it justice here probably, but it was just so funny the way she was describing it because they talk about the fact that men think of things in boxes and the boxes do not intersect. Women, our minds are like a big mind map where we're constantly moving on all cylinders and we can be in the middle of a board meeting and we're thinking about what are we going to get on the table for dinner tonight. And I was telling one of my, doctors at MD Anderson, the cancer center, I was telling him about the book I was writing, and he said, "That's so funny, you need to interview my wife." And he said, "And it's so true because when I'm in clinic, I'm just thinking about my patient, who I'm gonna see, what patient I'm gonna see next." He said, "She's also a doctor, and she can be in clinic, and she'll be texting me between patients saying, 'Don't forget to go get Junior's baseball equipment because tryouts are tonight.'" And just always looking at what else is on the table. And it's so true because we have this invisible number of roles that we fill. And in fact, I asked that question in my interviews. I asked women to tell me the roles that they play. And you expect employee, caretaker, you just named several of them, but they got really creative. They were like counselor, tutor, uh, Uber driver,
Oh, sure.
chief
Yeah.
chief buyer and wardrobe manager. I mean, it was just hilarious, and it's like, yes, we're firing on all cylinders all the time. So one of the tips that obviously helps is to be organized, to try to organize places in your life so you don't have to just keep it all in your head. But beyond that, I really wanna go back to this art of saying no because anytime you can say no to something, it enables you to give a stronger yes to something else. And you've got to have that margin or white space, whatever you want to call it, in your life because these curveballs will happen. They always do. And it might be your children, it might be your parents, it might be a friend, it might be something at work, but something's going to come up that's going to demand that you reprioritize things. And when you are that full of things to do, you just don't have the margin for those curveballs. And rebalancing is about that agility. So you've got to say no to some things. And I think we also, because we're ambitious and we do a lot, we think, well, I can do that. Yeah, they want me to be the treasurer for the PTA and I'm a CPA, so I can probably do it a lot faster and easier than anybody else. So, okay, I'll do it. And we don't stop to think, is this the right way to spend my time? And it's the old thing that our moms used to say to us all the time. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Oh, yes, I heard that one. I
And
heard
men are
that
so
one.
good, by the way, at they'll say no or don't play that game.
But women, we have guilt. Like, if
Yeah,
I said
we
no to
do.
you, I would be so guilty. I'd be like, "Oh my god, what is she gonna think about me? Oh, this is terrible. I'm a bad person." How do we stop having this guilt, this inner monologue?
Well, that's definitely another way we think differently than men. And the interesting thing is we can get so consumed with the comparison game. And then, I used to think that we had a lot of pressure on us as women because we were trying to make it in a man's world or whatever the cliche was, trying to bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan and never forget you're a man and all those 70s songs and everything. But now it's like social media. I've talked to women who have small children, and there are women in the preschool who will put their child's lunchbox fixins on Instagram because they're making them gourmet sandwiches and cutting vegetables into cute little shapes. And and I said to the woman who told me this, I said, "Well, what is?" She said, "My husband tries to help, and he just doesn't know how." And I said, "Well, what does he say?" about this?" And she said, "Well, he says that's stupid and it doesn't matter." And I said, "Do you think maybe he might have a point? Because we have to choose to manage our entries. We have to choose whether we're going to play that game. Now, if you get joy from cutting your kids' vegetables and fruits into little shapes and making the most creative lunch, go to town, do it. That brings you joy. That's awesome. But if you are doing it to feel better than someone else or to kind of measure up and level up the playing field and feel like you're more than, I think you need to do some self-examination to see where that's coming from because that's not healthy. And unfortunately, that's the impact of social media when it adds to all this guilt. But that book, The Let Them Theory, it's one of my favorite books right now from Mel Robbins, and all it's about is let them be them, but you don't have to own that. And when we can get out of our own way with guilt, we're a whole lot better off.
But I would think also the comparison leads to depression,
Absolutely.
and then you feel like as women, I mean, it's not an easy go, right?
Right.
And then you're always comparing yourself to somebody else, like, am I good enough? And then you see these beautiful curated pictures on
Yes, they're probably
Instagram.
AI.
Yeah, and then you think, "Wow, I'm really, really falling short." So, what would you suggest to the depression that must happen?
Well, first of all, I'm a big believer in therapy. I mean, if you feel like you're not okay and you feel like something's not right, talk to somebody. Please talk to somebody. But besides that, I think it's just really important that we reframe what competition looks like. And somebody told me this in my 20s, and it was just profound to me. They said, "You are only in competition with your own best self. Am I doing the best I can today with the resources I've been given and the awareness that I have?" That's all we can do.
So true.
And we need to let go of artificially comparing our life to someone else's or our looks or anything else because there's always more than meets the eye. And it's a misery inducing operation to start constantly comparing to other people. I think that's where a lot of the perfectionism comes in. The other thing that I thought was interesting is, I took this class in my 20s. It was the same class, I keep talking about it. It was where I did the uppermost values, uppermost goals. We looked at our thought process and the role self-esteem plays, but one of the questions they asked us was, "Can your self-esteem be too high?"
Oh.
And I was like, "Well, yeah." And I answered exactly the way most people do. And they said, "Okay, well, tell me about that, Carol. What do you think makes someone what does it look like when someone's self-esteem is too high?" And I said, "Conceit,
Mhm.
egotism." And they said, "What if I told you that person didn't have high self-esteem? What if I told you that generally when people feel like they need to compensate and act better than someone, it's usually because they have something that they don't feel good about within them?"
Oh.
And that really changed how I view egotism and conceit, and it's really helped me, I guess, create this barrier of not worrying so much about whether they think they're better than me or whether I'm better than somebody else. I'm just in competition with my own best self,
I
and that
love that.
keeps me from being miserable, and I hope that somehow that's a mantra someone can just repeat to try to start to be okay, and heaven knows we are all imperfect. I have a
God,
lot of
yes.
imperfections, just keep talking to me and we can talk about them. But, that's part of being human, and nobody's expected to be perfect.
I feel like it's just a journey, it's a road,
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I wanna ask you, I mean, hence the 5 flavors of happiness, and I
Yes.
feel like you've gone through so much. I mean, the cancer diagnosis, high blood pressure, um, just the feeling of burnout. Um, how has your definition of happiness changed from back then when you were overworking to the beautiful Carol in front of me who is at peace with herself and calm and centered?
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I didn't even mention one of the most traumatic experiences of my life was finding out very suddenly that my husband was having an affair
Oh,
and getting a divorce. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say. And I asked him to leave, and I became a single mom of teenagers. And
my
that was,
God.
I've been through some tough stuff. But the reason I bring that up is, first of all, there were a few things that helped me get through all of these experiences. Number one, faith. My faith, I'm a Christian, so that's my faith. Whatever your faith is, having the context, the broader sense that there's something bigger than you, it can be very comforting and you can lean on it in tough times. And that's been huge, huge for me. Also, the idea of surrendering. And maybe that goes along with faith, but surrendering what I thought my plans ought to be, what everybody else expected of me. That's a whole topic we didn't even delve into here. But, women, a lot of times I think we carry expectations of other people, and heaven knows I don't want to get divorced. What would people think of me? Not that it's bad for anybody else. I just didn't want to be the first divorced person in my family because of
Mhm.
all my siblings and parents. Nobody had ever gone through that before, but here I was. And I had to let go of worrying about something like that because that's my reality and I've got to own that and live through it. So surrendering, and by surrendering you make way for what's next. And then just having trust, and trust, maybe you could interchange that with hope, but just trusting that things will get better. You can't hit the fast forward button. You have to go through it, but maintaining hope and maintaining trust that I can get through this. I can rely on my skills and myself and my faith and my friends to help me through this, and I can still maintain trust in people even when my trust is broken with my spouse in this case. So I think those things really helped me get through, and I think I would say I leaned on my faith more than anything, but I think it's just embracing the goodness. And my friends would tell you I am a different person. They're like, "You're so happy all the time. Your countenance, you just look happy." Well, by divorcing, the thing I thought I'd never do, I thought I'd stay in a loveless marriage forever until he cheated. But that enabled me to find true and amazing love. And
Oh, that's
I mean,
wonderful.
the fact that I even put myself out there again is thanks to therapy. So
Takes
I put myself
courage.
out there again. And she said, "You have a lot of love to give and you deserve to be cherished." And I got on Match.com and I kissed a lot of okay, they weren't truly frogs, but I mean, I was about to get off Match, and then I got matched with the man who's been my husband for almost 8 years, and we finish each other's sentences. I laugh more, I smile more, I'm just happy. He didn't make me happy, because I don't know that another person can make you happy, but he's shown me love, and he's been somebody who celebrates me, imperfections and all, and loves me anyway. And I think there are people out there that are good, and just having that hope and that trust that things can get better has made all the difference in the world, and that's what I think gets me through the tough times and has led me to more happiness.
I love that for you. I love that you found love again. That is so
Yeah.
beautiful and so courageous. And
Thank you.
it's funny because I was talking just today with one of my girlfriends. I said, if I was ever a single mother, my daughter would take the bus because it's just too much. And then we were joking about like, would you date again? And she said no. She was like, "No, I would just be single." And I was like, "Yeah, I think I'd do a Kate and Allie thing and just find a girlfriend. Just want
Yeah,
somebody to eat cheese with and drink
I
wine."
know, right?
Because
I mean,
I
it
don't
never crossed my mind. You just don't even
right?
think about what that would look like.
'Cause it's hard.
Mhm.
It's extremely hard to be so vulnerable. But I wanna talk to you one last question, if you don't mind, if we have 2 more
Yeah,
minutes. I
sure.
wanna talk to you about surrender because I recently talked to somebody about it and in a really spiritual context, and if it's okay if we go down that route. And it's it's very hard to surrender versus giving
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Like, what is the difference between, "Okay, I'm gonna surrender," versus, "I'm just gonna give up?"
Well, to me, I think the difference is when you give up, you kinda lose hope. You lose hope of ever moving to a better place. But surrendering is knowing that it's okay not to know the next step, but to still take purposeful action forward to get out of whatever rut you're in. And I think that's a key difference. And it to me, surrender is about praying and knowing that the Lord has a plan for me that's bigger than the plans I have for myself, and that I don't do nearly as good a job making plans as he does. And it's kind of funny because I'm in my 50s and I can't tell you. I mean, I've already told you I'm a type A, right? So it's like I had a plan. I had so many plans
Sure.
and everything went according to plan until that divorce. And I mean, I thought I did a pretty good job of planning, but things didn't always go the way I wanted to. But the less I've tried to plan and forecast, the more I've been able to let the joy come to me. And the more I've been able to say, I mean, I don't believe it's inertia. I don't think it's sitting still that does the trick. You've got to move forward with faith and with purpose and with hope, knowing that, okay, this feels like the next right thing I need to do, and you take one step at a time. But when you surrender and you're open to what comes your way, things can present themselves that you never saw coming. And I'm living proof of that. I could talk to you another 30 minutes about that. But I think surrender is a beautiful thing. And I keep encouraging my now adult children to surrender more and worry less about their plans.
And it's hard though because I'm right there with you where I make plans and then the universe, God, spirit, whatever you wanna just laughs. It says, "No, that's not what's gonna happen
You
today.
just
This is what's gonna
yeah,
happen today."
you
And
just think
then
you had a plan.
right, and then it's funny because then you realize afterwards, like, even this podcast, right? I realize now, oh, that's why I do design work. That's why I do video work. It's like God had this plan that now I could do this, and I wouldn't have been able to do this 5, 10 years ago because I didn't have the skills. So the
That's right,
universe set it up for me. And it's really it's really beautiful when you sit back and you look and you see what the universe did for you.
isn't
Because
it?
I think the universe is infinite and there's more than enough for everybody.
That's exactly my thought too. And it is a
Right?
beautiful thing.
Awesome. Carol, thank you so much for your time. I love talking
Thank
to you. And where
you.
can people get your book?
They can get it anywhere they buy books, Amazon, of course, or Barnes& and Noble, or any of the really online booksellers. It's on Audible, and there's a Kindle version too. So, it's called The Rebalancing Act: Wisdom from Working Women for Success That Matters. And there's info on my website, which is just my name, carolenneking.com.
Beautiful. And guys, I'm going to drop below in the description all of these links. Plus, we didn't talk about this yet. You have tools.
I do have tools. I have a legacy blueprint workbook they can download from my website that will take them through the exercises I was talking about. So, it's
Well, that's fabulous.
free.
And that will be the 5 values that we have.
Uh-huh. Just determining your uppermost values, your lifetime goals, and creating your legacy statement. So,
Oh, beautiful.
yeah.
Guys, go ahead and download that. I'm going to do this as soon as I get off.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you next time on the next episode of 5 Flavors of Happiness.